All right, let's get started. How about the story in college basketball this season? Miami, Ohio beats Eastern Michigan 74-64 last night. Why is that the top story? Because they are 28-0 on the season. They're the only undefeated team in Division 1 left. Incredible season for them. The MAC conference is coming up. They'll need 3 more wins to finish a perfect 31-0 in the regular season. Western Michigan, Toledo, and Ohio. Those are the next 3 games. There have been just 20 undefeated teams that have entered the NCAA basketball tournament in the history of college basketball, and just 3 of those have done so this century, just 4 since 1980. Got to start talking about this team as we head toward March. Meanwhile, at the Scouting Combine, the National Football League could be looking at a quarterback carousel yet again. As of right now, Kyler Murray looks to be on the outs with the Cardinals, but who really knows? Because there are new reports that are contradicting the general manager, who says that Kyler Murray has not had extensive discussions about what will happen with him in the future. I'll have to stay tuned. Meanwhile, the Miami Dolphins, as of right now, have that guy that you see right there, Tua Tagovailoa, under contract. If they release him, it would produce an NFL record $99.2 million dead cap hit. Said this before, and I'll say it again. Doesn't matter. Salary cap goes up. We make a big deal about nothing. But here is the new general manager, John Eric Sullivan, on potentially that move that could say farewell to Tua.
Yeah, so we're evaluating the entire roster, right? As it pertains to Tua, I know that question is coming, so I'll just get ahead of the curve. We've had conversations with Tua and his representation. Everything's on the table, including the potential of a trade. We don't know which way that's going to go. There's a lot of different factors at play, a lot of conversations being had. But evaluating the roster, Quinn did a nice job towards the end of the year. Excited about what's ahead for him. Tua, I thought, even though things didn't go well at the end of the year, did some good things along the way. And it's my job to infuse competition into that room along with every other room as we go down the road.
Lots of rumors about Malik Willis maybe signing with the Dolphins. Green Bay Packers backup quarterback. We'll see. Again, free agency doesn't start for a few weeks. Meanwhile, Sean Payton, elite coach, have to say that, right? In the National Football League, has been calling plays as long as he's been head coach, whether it's been with the Saints or the Broncos. Payton telling reporters yesterday for the first time someone else will do it. In this case, it will be offensive coordinator Davis Webb.
I know that's like, man, are you going to give up play calling? And I would only do that if I felt like it would help our team. I'll still be involved with what we do offensively, just like what we do defensively. But I do think he has a gift. I think he's real sharp. I'm glad he's on our staff. Typically, any decision we make like that is to benefit our team. So I'm looking forward to it. I challenged him in the offseason prior to that preseason game. He did a good job. But I think it'll help us, and certainly I wouldn't do it if I didn't think it was going to help our team win. You get to a point where you're focused strictly on improving your team any way you can.
Meanwhile, in the National Basketball Association last night, kind of a slugfest, honestly, between the Cavs and the Knicks. Cavs were 4.5-point favorites. They end up winning by 15. Donovan Mitchell had 23 points in this game, and obviously Kenny Atkinson happy to just get a win. He can against anybody, but in this case, it could be a team that he sees again in the playoffs.
I mean, it's nice having Evan back. That starting lineup's pretty good defensively. You got Evan, Dean, and J.A. And it's been a great lineup for us historically. So I think that. And then you got Dennis, who we can put on like Brunson. So, got Dean, a big guy that can guard him. Then the changeup is kind of putting Dennis with the full court pressure. So, most of the time this is personnel. We've added 2 really good defenders in Dennis and Keon. I think that helps.
We weren't good. Tonight was probably one of the first nights in a while that I didn't think we were on a string defensively, meaning that when the ball moved, all 5 guys moved, and they made us pay for it. So tough loss, ugly game overall, and we got to get back and figure out what we need to do to get a win on Friday.
Meanwhile, the Boston Celtics take care of business last night against the Phoenix Suns, 97-81. Celtics were 5.5-point favorites. Derek White had 22 points, 8 rebounds, and 8 assists. Now, in the game last night that went down to the wire, some funny comments were made after the game on this one. First of all, the Magic, they end up beating the Lakers 110-109, and the Lakers were 6.5-point favorites. Wendell Carter had the game winner. Now, Luka Doncic had a chance to win it at the end of the game, but he passed the ball to LeBron, who didn't knock down a three. And LeBron, after the game, said, well, I thought Luka was going to take the shot. But first, let's hear from Jamal Mosley, and then we'll hear from J.J. Redick on what transpired.
I thought the group did a tremendous job of not letting shot making or missing impact our defense. Obviously, we had some mistakes during this game, but our guys stayed the course the entire game. And, our guys being able to step up big. Paulo was gigantic for us tonight. His shot making, his play making, him rebounding the basketball, those were big plays for us tonight. Guys just found ways to have winning plays throughout this game.
You go into this game, with their size and their strength, it's going to be a rock fight, and we lose the scoring opportunity by 8 in a 1-point game. That's the game. We had more turnovers than them, and they got more offensive rebounds than us.
No Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last night. No Jalen Williams. Doesn't matter. Thunder win again, 116-107 over the Toronto Raptors. OKC 1.5-point favorites. Cason Wallace had 27 points in the game last night. As I mentioned, in college basketball, number 21, Miami, Ohio, they win again, 74-64. They're undefeated heading into the final 3 games of the season and then the conference tournament. Caleb Foster had the big game for Duke last night. They crushed Notre Dame 100-56, although Cam Boozer did have 24 points and 13 rebounds in this one, but head coach John Shire in the blowout went out of his way to give props to Foster.
Both these guys to my left and right, obviously Caleb, got us off to a really good start, hit a couple threes. His defense throughout, I look at the decision making. I think that was big for us tonight. And then, this guy just, he's doing everything: assists, rebounds, scoring it, taking care of the ball, fouling. He's we can't have that happening. But listen, really proud of this win. We're gonna enjoy this tonight. Know there's a lot more we can do and have to do, and keep learning and keep growing.
Meanwhile, also in college basketball last night, Arizona seems to be back on track. They win 87-80 over Baylor. They're the number 2 ranked team in the country. They were 7.5-point favorites in that game. Also, as the National Hockey League gets set to start back up after Team USA won the gold over Team Canada, Sidney Crosby, future Hall of Famer, injured in the Olympics, is not going to play for approximately a month when play resumes for the Penguins. All right, welcome back to Newswire here on SportsGrid. Great to have Sam McQuillan in the house from Legal Sports Report as we go over the very latest on sports betting and prediction markets. It's been a hot topic once again for us this year. For those of you unfamiliar, prediction markets launched in sports over the last couple of years, and there's just a lot of legalese going on right now to see if these folks are going to be able to stay around and operate, and if they're a big part of our broadcasting and financial future, to be honest. All right, Sam is with us here. All right, so Sam, a lot of the reporting that you've done over at Legal Sports Report seemingly indicating states fighting off prediction markets to make them pay taxes, to make them join the rest of the sports betting operations, and winning a lot. But I see here the state of Tennessee may be one of the first that could be going the other way in favor of the prediction market. Tell us more.
Yeah, as you mentioned, Craig, there's about 10 different lawsuits playing out between states and prediction market companies like Kalshi and Polymarket. And again, like you mentioned, mainly trying to get these companies what they are offering, these financial investing services that are on the back of sports pretty much, trying to get those on the same page as their licensed sports betting partners. The states legalize sports betting for a reason. They have licensing processes. They have this robust paperwork and, reporting that you have to do with the state commission, with, all this support system to keep game integrity, to make sure people are betting in the proper age. Right now, prediction markets really are not subject to that. So that's why Tennessee is, one of several states that's suing to get them to become subject to that. They sent a cease and desist order to Kalshi, which has resulted in this lawsuit that's now playing out. And the biggest development here is this week, a federal judge in Tennessee ruled in Kalshi's favor granting them a preliminary injunction. So what this does basically is it's a temporary win for Kalshi. It means Kalshi can keep operating in the state of Tennessee while the lawsuit continues to play out. They haven't had, all the proceedings, the legal proceedings play out in this lawsuit so far. It's still ongoing. We don't know exactly when it might be settled. Like you mentioned, there's a number of other lawsuits where judges have ruled kind of in the opposite. In Nevada, they did not grant Kalshi's preliminary injunction. Basically, the arguments Kalshi's made here is to offer sports betting or sports prediction markets rather, like Tennessee is asking, it would have to change its platform where it is only offering a Tennessee exchange different from its entire other business, which Kalshi has argued, would damage it materially. Interestingly enough, the court also ruled that federal law likely overrides state law, which is kind of the big issue here is, are these contracts allowed under federal derivatives law, or are they, stepping on or encroaching on state sports betting law? It's quickly boiled into a states' rights versus federal issue with a lot of folks asking the CFTC to provide clarity. It obviously comes, last week we talked about the CFTC talking about they're going to really defend these lawsuits and the right of federal law in this whole oversight versus state law. So bottom line is, it's a small win for Kalshi to keep operating in Tennessee, but down the road, when we talk about the Supreme Court, maybe other appellate courts where the fate of whether prediction markets are indeed sports betting or not ultimately is decided, we'll be looking back to these decisions made earlier in these cases. Again, Nevada and New Jersey kind of ruled the opposite, Tennessee ruling a different way. So it just goes to show you how kind of mixed the whole bag is here and how much uncertainty persists and kind of how much more time there is before we get a real resolution. But certainly an interesting development in Tennessee, and we'll keep watching what happens in the myriad of other states as well.
I thought that there was some sports pushback. How about this one? I didn't see this one coming. You could read the story, by the way, Legal Sports reports, the CFTC, Sam, seemingly, and again, I don't mean to make light of this, but, you've heard about folks doing dead pools before, trying to predict when, celebrities would pass away. I thought that was kind of morbid, but let's not deny it goes on across the country. The CFTC does not want these prediction markets being involved in harm or death. That makes sense. But I don't know. It seems like the prediction markets are pushing back on everything. Are they going to push back here?
Yeah, getting back to the core issue of prediction markets is there's really no one regulating it right now. The CFTC is supposed to, but the CFTC is historically understaffed. It's probably has even less staff than we know about and underfunded certainly. And the argument here for the folks who want regulation is, hey, the federal regulator really is not the federal regulator because there's no one there. So one of the main issues is these prediction markets can just offer contracts on seemingly whatever they want by self-certifying. We talked about a few months ago the issue the NCAA had with Kalshi moving towards offering an event contract market on the decision of transfer portals or college transfer decisions, which is supposed to be explicitly prohibited. Now, death is also supposed to be something you're not allowed to financially invest in on the outcome, or for that matter, you can't bet on it at a casino or on a sports book for obvious reasons. But 6 Democratic senators this week wrote a letter to the CFTC asking that they really clarify what those rules are with death contracts. They cited the NASA Artemis 2 mission. You could bet on the outcome of that mission being a failure. So senators kind of, worried, are we betting on astronauts dying? They mentioned the Russia-Ukraine conflict where you can bet on the outcome. So are you betting on technically war there? And they also mentioned Nicolas Maduro, who was ousted, famously very recently in Venezuela. And are you betting on, if you're betting on him to be ousted, are you betting on him to be assassinated? What are the outcomes? How are those contingent upon life and death? Quite explicitly, the Commodities Exchange Act states that you can't bet on terrorism or you can't invest in assassination or war. So there are categories that are explicitly prohibited, but because some of these markets can be decided by a death or a fate or a terrorism act or something, these senators basically want clarity from the CFTC. Now, the CFTC has largely not really done anything with prediction markets, which have just boomed over the past year. Their volume has gone up like 100 times since the year before, mainly on the back of sports. But recently, the CFTC did come out and say it's going to, issue new rules. So this could be something that they take into account in that process. Certainly no mention of sports, but again, because this is really transforming the way we talk about sports betting and just gambling law in general, it definitely relates. And it's definitely just more of Congress kind of scrutinizing this growing sector, which obviously more and more pushback is coming, but these lawsuits have to play out and we have to see what else happens. I'm sure this isn't kind of the last controversial thing we talk about with prediction markets, that's for sure.
Probably not even the last this week when we check back with Sam on Friday. Okay. So in terms of sports betting, our story today is on Wisconsin. It seems like from what I'm reading here, Sam, there could be sports headed their way. The tricky part here is it does involve the tribal entities, which of course I'm familiar with here in Florida as well. Maybe it's something similar.
Yeah, Wisconsin is a very similar market to Florida, Craig. It's in-person sports betting is legal with the tribe. So in Florida, they got to the point where they were able to keep sports betting and expand it by having online servers for online sports betting on tribal land. It's kind of the workaround a lot of states have done. That's what Wisconsin is proposing here as well. The state assembly actually passed a bill this week, which would allow 11 state tribes to create servers on their land that host online sports betting, partnering with apps, essentially allowing up to 11 sports betting apps to come in the state. The session actually ends March 19th, though, so they're running out of time quickly to pass the bill. It's already passed the Assembly. It needs to be heard in the Senate. It does have the support of Governor Tony Evers, who's backing it, and the tribes seem to be on board as well, as obviously it would give them most of the power. But there's still some Republicans in Congress that are a little wary of commercial operators not being included. Obviously, the FanDuels, DraftKings, BetMGMs of the world have a lot of lobbying influence with the states. And, prediction markets have really changed the game in terms of them not getting a cut of sports betting that's happening legally on those lands. So I imagine that'll probably be a factor here as well. But Wisconsin, one of the few states this year where we could see betting go from in-person to expanding online. We'll have to see.
And great stuff as always. We'll check back Friday. I'm sure we'll have a new prediction markets discussion. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks, Craig. You too.